Okay, my people, Lord Eric Steele here, aka Big Rossi Love, here with another episode of FBA All Day. I'm going to be addressing questions and comments I've been receiving on our FBA family being divisive or trying to be separate or call division amongst our people. This is a serious question. I know a lot of people have very heated feelings about this, about us delineating from other groups. But today we're going to dive into it. I'm going to break into it and give you guys some insights as to the way we feel, how we got to this position where we felt the need to do this. And hopefully I can shed some light on these things. I mean, the questions are just pouring in and I appreciate it. The emails are always appreciated. And let's get right into it because we got a lot to cover, okay? The first thing I want to do is break things down for my younger people that watch this and they don't understand some of the terminology may go over their head. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I try to make it as basic and plain as I can. I know our other people that do their podcasts from our family, they do their podcast strictly for a lot of adults, and I do have a lot of children that follow up behind me, so I'm going to try to be as clear as I can, okay? First thing, I'm going to cover the word divisive. 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 It means tending to cause disagreement or hostility between people. Okay? Now that means certain groups, when we delineate and say you have to be of our lineage to be considered foundational Black American, they think that's divisive. They think we're not including them in our plight. And it's true. We are not including them in our plight. And I'm going to explain to you why. Okay? The first thing I learned, the first thing that I've been studying and studying up with our master teachers is this term, FBA, Foundational Black American, it cannot be rehashed. It is what it is. Okay? It's a perfect description of our people. We have to give props to Brother Tariq Nasheed for help putting these terms together so that we don't have as much trouble going forward with the things our people need and require, okay? Foundational Black American is very simple. We are the people that built this country. This country was built upon us. Our people was literally the currency, okay? We were the first currency. We were the first stock traded on Wall Street, okay? Now that's either true or it's not. The first stock ever traded, the first thing ever traded on Wall Street, which is in New York, was black slaves. Okay? Our people is no question what this country was built on. But I'm just going to lay that out there as I move forward. All right? Now, the problem we have had up to this point, well, we kind of got sidetracked. Okay? Now, here's another episode I'm going to get into with our religious beliefs and our faiths that sometimes cause us to lose footing. Okay, it causes us to lose footing in our social standings, and that's economically, that's socially in the dominant society. We lose our footing because we approach things with morals and feelings, and nobody else does. Okay, that's one of the reasons why we have to start addressing these things. That's one of the reasons why we had to come up with our own terms and define who we are. Because we came up, well, I'll give you some history. I'll start with some history. In 1968, a foundational Black American named James Brown came up with a song called Say It Loud. Okay? Say It Loud was a song, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. That song was intended to help us focus on who we are and our struggles that we were dealing with at the time. That's 1968. Calling ourselves Black, being proud to be called Black. Okay? 1968. We were the ones struggling and fighting for civil rights, to be treated civilly in this country. There was no problem being called Black. Okay? We didn't have a problem being called Black. Okay? Then we had the Christian movements coming along. We have two factions. We have our foundational Black Americans who are soldiers and who are intended to move our people forward by any means necessary, i.e., your Malcolm X's, your Medgar Evers, your Stokely Carmichaels, these individuals who are singularly focused on moving us forward no matter what. Then we had another group that was headed by Dr. Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, and those guys, and they wanted to do everything peaceful. You understand what I'm saying? They wanted to be nonviolent. They wanted to be, in what history has shown us, they wanted to be irrational is what it is. Okay? Irrational. And I want all my students who are paying attention to this to understand. Never in the history of man has an oppressed set of people been set free by praying. That's never happened in history. It's never going to happen. Okay? We have to be honest with one another. The only way to get a bully off your back is to address the bully. You can't run away. You can't hide. That's not how you take care of bullies. That's not how you take care of oppression. You can't hold hands and sing and think that people that are in power are going to respect you or give you what you're asking for. That's never happened. Okay? That's never happened. In the entire history of man. Now that's either a fact or it's not. And you can look it up from now if you want to. But there's never been a group of oppressed people that were let go by singing and praying. That's not the way it happens. Okay? Now you can take that for what it is. Okay? So then we came along. We were moving right along, black and I'm proud, doing our thing, not ashamed, unashamed, and bold in our black beauty. Okay? Then they saw all the progress our people was making. Okay? They could see us coming up again, uprising again, and it started concern. In comes Jesse Jackson after the death of Martin Luther King. In comes Jesse Jackson. And he came up with this term, African American. Okay? This term African American, they wanted to switch from being called black to African American. This was a mistake. Okay? This was a mistake. And I'll tell you why. It's not being divisive to call yourself who you are. All right? It's not being divisive. It's not being divisive for the Irish to say we're Irish. St. Patrick's Day, they have a whole day dedicated to themselves, the Irish. We join in. I have many friends who are Irish, and I celebrate with them. Congratulations to your people. You know, you guys are doing well. You know, I'm happy for them. I don't go, oh, you guys are being divisive. Okay? Puerto Rican Day parades. I'm getting it in like everybody else. I'm not Puerto Rican, but I'll help you celebrate your heritage. Why not? You feel me? I don't have any hate towards any of these people. This is not a hate channel. I don't do hate. What I do is truth. We're going to do facts without feelings. Okay? So this term, African American, is just an ambiguous term. Okay? It's very ambiguous. Okay? Let me break that down. Ambiguous. It means open to one or more interpretation, having a double meaning. It's unclear or inexact because the choice between alternatives has not been made. You haven't made a choice. So it's very ambiguous. Okay? These are the types of words, when you put them in legal documents, that allows people that have ill will or not good intentions towards our people, it allows them to wiggle in. It allows them to get in and start to undermine our efforts. Okay? We cannot use ambiguous terms. I'll give you an example of some ambiguous terms. We can't use African American. That does not help us because technically Elon Musk is an African American. Charlize Theron is an African American. We cannot use that term. That term does not define us accurately. Okay? We can't use minority. Minority is simply a loser. It's a loser. If we use the term minority, we lose. And I'm not making this up. Look at the statistics. What have we accomplished under the term minority? Nothing. Everything covered under minority starts with a social standing. The first minority person that gets considered is the white woman. She's considered a minority. Okay? Then you have the gay white man. He's considered a minority. The Asians, the Latinos, everybody is a minority, and then at the bottom of the list is us. We're supposed to be the ones that name was intended for. But when it comes time to allocating funds and resources, all those other people get their piece of the pie first. You see, it's a game. That's a game that they play. They'll say, oh, well, we were given 5 million for the minorities. Okay. Then the white women come in and they get 4 out of the 5 million. But the people can say, well, we come in and say, well, where's our money that was allocated for the minorities? Like, oh, we don't have any left. Oh, the white women came and the gays, the gay white men, they came and they already been come. So I'm sorry, there's not enough left for you guys. We're the ones that term was formulated for. Okay? So we can't use African American. We can't use minority. These are ambiguous terms. They don't define us. So I don't care if they get rid of those terms. Those terms mean nothing to me. I don't check those things on anything that I have. I'm not a minority. I'm not an African American. I'm none of that. Okay? We cannot allow them to label us as these ambiguous terms because that allows them to move us aside. That allows them to hopscotch over us, if you will. That allows them to jump over us and not give us our due. Using those legal terms, they put those terms in there, ambiguous terms in there, intentionally to sidestep us, to undermine us. That's what happened in California with Mr. Gavin. They were making those FBA reparations, all that stuff they were talking. If you read the documents, they were putting more ambiguous terms in there just so they could do exactly what I'm telling you. That's why we wind up not voting. Because we're too intelligent to keep falling for the same banana in the tailpipe trick. We're not falling for that mess anymore. Specifically, reparations is due to foundational Black Americans, period. Okay? And that's not divisive. I got this person that emailed me, was calling me, saying all kind of weird things. And I understand when you're ignorant, a lot of things can get confusing for you. So allow me to break it down and reiterate, okay, how us saying we're FBA is not hate, okay? It's not hate saying that we're foundational Black Americans. I don't understand how you guys are translating that to hate speech, because it's not, okay? It's not hate speech at all. And I'll give you some examples just so you guys can understand. Okay, I'll give you some examples. Now, as I was saying, when Jesse Jackson came up, I think it was 1984, Jesse Jackson came up with the National Rainbow Coalition. Okay, Black people fought for civil rights. Of course, there were some individuals fighting alongside us. I will admit that. But for the most part, we were the ones being mistreated. We were the ones fighting our grievances. Now, if they fight alongside us, we don't have a problem with that. But they don't get to take credit. That's not the way it works. You got millions of Black people fighting and you got 20 white people. You don't go, oh, Black and white. No, that's not the way it works. But according to Mr. Jesse Jackson, he needed to form a rainbow coalition. Okay, and the Rainbow Coalition was a political organization that sought equal rights for everybody. Everybody wasn't struggling. Everybody wasn't being harmed. Everybody wasn't being hung. Everybody wasn't being bombed. Everybody wasn't being killed. Okay, but for some reason, Mr. Jackson thought he needed to form some group to include everybody. So we do all the suffering, and then everybody else enjoys the fruits of our suffering. Those days are done. That was a mistake. Now, I won't sit here and say that Mr. Jackson or Reverend Jackson intended to harm us in any way. I'm not insinuating that. Please don't take it that way. But as we look back and we study, okay, as the Lord Eric Steele looks back and studies, I can see the mistakes, okay? This is how you prepare for any battle, any war, any confrontation, any game. You have to have a game plan. And when you are planning to play against another team, you have to take certain things into consideration, okay? You have to understand what the other team is good at. You understand what the other team has done previously. And once you see their plays that they use, then you have to plan to counter their plays. Okay? That's how it's done. That's how men do things. That's how it's done. You have to counter their plays. And since we now know what their plays are, we're just not going to play along. We're just not going to play along. That was a mistake by Mr. Jackson to try to make those ambiguous terms apply to us. It was a mistake. Okay? And we've learned from that mistake. And now to show you that we learned from that mistake, we're not going to fall for it anymore. It's that simple.